Dilute solutions, colligative properties, part 3, presented by G. Satyanarayana Gaud, Assistant Professor, Department of Chemistry, Dr. B.R.R. Government College, Tirchala. Topics covered in this lesson: laws of osmotic pressure, Van Hoff theory of dilute solutions, reverse osmosis, isotonic solutions, methods to determine osmotic pressure, and problems. The things we discuss is. So in last class we have discussed the concept of osmosis and osmotic pressure, how to determine the osmotic pressure theoretically. The formula was pi is equal to H rho G. Osmosis means the spontaneous movement of solvent molecules from solvent to, or from low concentration region to high concentration region through a semi-permeable membrane. When a solvent and solution or low concentrated solution and high concentration solution are separated by a semi-permeable membrane is called osmosis. And osmotic pressure means the pressure exerted or the pressure developed on solution site when a solution and solvent are separated by a semi-permeable membrane due to movement of solvent molecules from solvent to solution is called osmotic pressure. Okay, these things we have discussed in last class. Now we see what are the laws of osmotic pressure. They are also called as Van Hoff laws of osmotic pressure. Van Hoff laws of osmotic pressure. As the gases follows the ideal gases follows the Boyle's law, Charles law, Avogadro's law, the dilute solutions are also following similar types of laws, means Boyle's law, Charles law, and Avogadro's law. So this is the hypothesis made by Van Hoff. Based on his experiments, he observed that the dilute solutions also follows the laws which are followed by ideal gases. Which laws? They are the Charles laws, Boyle's law, and Avogadro's law. They are also applicable to the dilute solutions. Let me see the first one. The first one is the Boyle's Van Hoff law. Before that, what is the meaning of Boyle's law? Let you once again recapitulate it. According to Boyle's law, the pressure is inversely proportional to volume of that gas at given temperature, means at constant temperature. The pressure, volume, both of them are inversely proportional at constant temperature. This we observed in case of a given mass of gas. Let me see about the Boyle's Van Hoff law. Similar type as Boyle's law, we can define this. According to this law, at constant temperature, osmotic pressure of a solution is directly proportional to its concentration. Pi is directly proportional to its concentration. Pi is the osmotic pressure. C is the concentration, means pi is directly proportional to C. We know that as the concentration increases, osmotic pressure also increases. Low concentrated solution and high concentrated solution, if you compare both of these, the osmotic pressure of low concentrated solution will be less compared to the osmotic pressure of high concentrated solution. Means as the concentration increases, osmotic pressure increases. It was experimentally observed. So pi is directly proportional to C. What is C? Concentration of solution. Suppose a solution is considered in which the amount of solute is fixed, means the amount of solute is constant. The amount of solute is not varied. The type of solution we have taken, and we are just adding the solvent to this. Thus we are adding solvent, not the solute. Means solute amount is fixed. Means you are diluting the solution. When you are diluting the solution by adding solvent, what happens? The volume of solution gradually increases. When the volume of solution increases, what happens to concentration? Why the volume of solution is increasing? Due to dilution process, the volume of solution is increasing. So in dilution, we know that the concentration of solution will decreases. When the concentration of solution decreases, is it? Then what happened? The osmotic pressure also decrease. So three things you have to observe here. One is osmotic pressure, second is the concentration, third is the volume of solution due to dilution. Is it? Osmotic pressure, concentration and volume. Osmotic pressure is directly proportional to concentration, but concentration is inversely proportional to volume. As the volume increases for fixed mass of solute, concentration decreases. Therefore, osmotic pressure also decreases. Means osmotic pressure and volume are inversely proportional. In equation number 1, we can see that is pi is directly proportional to 1 by V, because C is inversely proportional to V. Therefore, from this equation, we can write what? Pi V is equal to constant. So it is similar to that of the Boyle's law. What is Boyle's law? We know that PV is equal to constant. Here we say pi V is equal to constant. These are data given in support of this Boyle's Van 't Hoff law. For the sugar aqueous solution, for different concentrations, pi and V are observed, and the product of pi and V is calculated here. In case of sugar aqueous solution, sucrose aqueous solution. So 2.02 gram per liter. The osmotic pressure was 0.134 atmospheres. Volume in liters is 169.3 and product is 22.7. This is pi V. When 10 grams of sugar is present, sucrose is present in 1 liter, the osmotic pressure is 0.66. It is increasing, you can see. And the volume is now 34.20. And pi V is equal to 22.6. Like that, the product remain constant, is it? 22.7, 22.6, 22.6, 22.6. Means the product of pi and V is constant at constant temperature. This we say Boyle's Van 't Hoff law. Is it? So according to Boyle's Van 't Hoff law, pi is inversely proportional to V, or pi V is equal to constant. Okay, next. Pressure temperature law. So simply we know that we know the Charles-Gay-Lussac law. According to Charles-Gay-Lussac law, the pressure of the gas is, in case of gas we are talking, the pressure of the gas is directly proportional to absolute temperature at constant volume. Same type of law is defined in the case of dilute solution. So at constant volume, the osmotic pressure of dilute solution is directly proportional to absolute temperature. This is pressure temperature law. We also call it as Charles Van 't Hoff law. Charles Van 't Hoff law. Pressure temperature law or Charles Van 't Hoff law in case of dilute solution. So pi is directly proportional to capital T. What is pi? Osmotic pressure. T is absolute temperature. As the temperature increases, osmotic pressure increases. As temperature increases, pressure increases at constant volume. That we see in case of gases. Here, as the temperature increases, osmotic pressure of dilute solution also increases. So pi is directly proportional to T. This is equation number 2. This represents Charles Van 't Hoff law or pressure temperature law. So in support of this, a data is given here. Is it at different temperatures for same sucrose aqueous solution? It is observed at 273 Kelvin. When the solution is there, osmotic pressure is 7.085 atmospheres, and pi by T. If you see this pi by T means 7.085 divided by 273, it gives 0.02594. Similarly, 7.334 is osmotic pressure at 283 Kelvin. Pi by T 0.02591. At 293 Kelvin, osmotic pressure is further increasing 7.605. Pi by T is 0.02595. At 298 Kelvin, osmotic pressure is again increasing. How much it is? 7.725, 7.729. Pi by T is 0.02594. So this is supporting this law, Van 't Hoff Charles law. Pi is directly proportional to T. that we can clearly see is it. Experimentally, we can observe. So, pi is inversely proportional to V, that is Boyle's 1/2 law. Pi is directly proportional to T, that is Charles' 1/2 law. So, based on this, we can write what? So, pi is directly proportional to T, pi is inversely proportional to V. Means from equation number 1 and 2, we can write pi is directly proportional to T by V from Boyle's law and Charles' law. Pi is directly proportional to T by V. So, in order to write is equal to, we have to introduce a constant. It is represented by S. It is the solution constant. So, we say it is pi V is equal to St. This is for 1 mole of solute we have given. Like that, if n moles of solute is there, this equation can be written as pi V is equal to NST. Pi V is equal to NST. With this equation, we can calculate the osmotic pressure pi, where n moles of solute is dissolved in V volume of solution, V liters of solution. S is the solution constant, T is absolute temperature. Here we have given, you see, pi is osmotic pressure, V is the volume of solution in liters, N is number of moles of solute, and S is the solution constant. V is taken in the liters, S must be taken in the liters. So liter, so S value should be there in the liters. It will be 0.0821 liter atmosphere mole inverse Kelvin inverse. You see, liter term is there in this S value. T is absolute temperature. So this is a very important formula. Pi V is equal to NST. With help of this, we can solve the problems also. Pi V is equal to NST. We say this is 1/2 equation of osmotic pressure. 1/2 equation for osmotic pressure. Okay, so this is a general equation. Pi V is equal to NST. Let me verify the Avogadro's hypothesis. We say it is Avogadro 1/2 law. Before discussing this, let you see about, once again you remember what is Avogadro's law in case of gases. Equal volume of 2 or more gases present under same conditions of temperature and pressure will have same number of moles. This is Avogadro's law. Volume should be same, pressure should be same, temperature should be same for 2 gases, or 2 or more gases. If these conditions are satisfied, in case of ideal gas, we say the number of molecules or moles will be also same. For example, based on the equation, 1 mole of solute is dissolved in a solution. So we have prepared 2 solutions here. We have prepared 2 solutions. What is the first solution? 1 mole of solute is dissolved in V1 volume. So according to 1/2 equation, pi 1 V1 is equal to ST1, because S is a constant. Pi 1 V1 is equal to ST1. Similarly, second solution we are preparing how? Again, 1 mole of solute is dissolved in V2 volume, so that it becomes pi 2 V2 is equal to ST2. So 2 different solutions. So we are applying this 1/2 equation of osmotic pressure to both of these solutions. You remember, number of moles of solute is 1 in both of these. So now we are fixing this. You see, at constant temperature and osmotic pressure. At constant temperature and osmotic pressure means if pi 1 is equal to pi 2 and T1 is equal to T2, we know S is a constant, that's why automatically what happens, V1 becomes equal to V2. So V1 must be equal to V2, means the volume of solutions will be same. If these solutions are exhibiting same osmotic pressure and are present under same conditions of temperature, and they will have the same volume and they will contain the same number of moles. This is called 1/2 Avogadro's law or Avogadro 1/2 law. Based on these experiments, 1/2 proposed a theory, stated a theory which is called in 1885, you see, 1885. He proposed a theory of dilute solutions. This is a very important theory, theory of dilute solutions. According to this theory, 1/2 says that if a solution is there and a solution is containing both of the substances, solvent and solute. So if a substance in a solution, means solvent in a solution, behaves exactly like a gas, suppose if a solute is behaving exactly like a gas, Then what happened? The osmotic pressure of the solution will be identical with the pressure of the gas. If that substance, that solute, will have the same temperature and occupying the same volume in that solution. Means if a solute is there in the solution, if this solute, for example, what did I imagine? If the solute is a gas, suppose the solute is a gas, it behaves as a gas, then the pressure exerted by that solute gaseous substance will be exactly equal to osmotic pressure of the solution if the dilute solution and gas are present under same conditions of temperature and pressure. That is the important statement given by Van Hoff in 1885 in his theory of dilute solutions. Means, in other words, the solution in the solution exactly behaves as gas, and the osmotic pressure of the dilute solution is analog to the pressure of the gas. That is important. See what we say? If the solute in the solution is exactly behaves as a gas, and osmotic pressure is analog to the pressure of the gas. If the solute in the solution behaves as a gas, then the pressure exerted by that gas, is it? Pressure exerted by that gas will be analog to the osmotic pressure of the solution. That is the statement of theory of dilute solutions. Okay, next after this we discuss about the reverse osmosis. What is meaning of reverse osmosis? We know the osmotic pressure is the pressure developed on the or hydrostatic pressure developed on the surface of solution or on the solution side due to osmosis. Is it? So when the hydrostatic pressure developed on the solution side and if it reaches to the equilibrium, then what happens? The process of osmosis will be stopped. Is it? Means the pressure which is exactly enough or just enough to prevent osmosis is called osmotic pressure that will be applied on the solution side. What is meaning of reverse osmosis? In case of reverse osmosis, we say like this: if the pressure applied on the solution is greater than the osmotic pressure, if the pressure applied on the solution is greater than the osmotic pressure, then the solvent molecules will move from high concentration region to low concentration region through semi-permeable membrane. Here also the low concentrated solution and high concentrated solution, both of them are separated by a semi-permeable membrane. Under this condition, we are applying the pressure on the solution side which is greater than the osmotic pressure, so that the solvent will flow from high concentration region to low concentration region. This phenomenon is called reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis. It has many applications. We can prepare the potable water from seawater, that is saline or salt water. In daily life also we are having the RO, that is equipment in our homes, houses, which we are using to filter the water or getting potable water, drinking water. RO water we are saying means reverse osmosis, water obtained by reverse osmosis. This is the meaning of reverse osmosis. Means what? You use the pressure more than the osmotic pressure. You remember. Okay, this is meaning of reverse osmosis. Next, another important point we are discussing is isotonic solutions. What is meaning of isotonic solutions? The solutions which are having same osmotic pressure are known as isotonic solutions. The solutions which are having same osmotic pressures. If we compare the osmotic pressure of two solutions, the osmotic pressures must be same. That type of solutions are called isotonic solutions. The best example for isotonic solutions are it is 9% W by V NaCl aqueous solution. It is exactly isotonic with the blood in our body. It is 0.9%, not 9, 0.9% W by V NaCl aqueous solution is exactly isotonic, that will have the same osmotic pressure as that of the blood in our body. That's why the patient generally this 0.9% saline water, we call it a saline water, will be injected to maintain the blood pressure when a person is that is wounded in accident or someone. So that is meaning of isotonic solution. So isotonic solutions will have the same osmotic pressure. So condition is, you can see here, pi 1 is equal to pi 2. According to the one half equation, we can write pi is equal to CST, or pi 1 we are writing C1 ST1, that is equal to C2 ST2. What is C1? It is molarity of a solution. T1 is absolute temperature at which the first solution is present. C2 is the molarity of second solution, and T2 is the absolute temperature of the second solution. So C1 ST1 is equal to C2 ST2. For example, if temperature is same, means T1 is equal to T2, and we know that this S is a constant. If this temperature is same, both of these are present at same temperature, then what happens? C1 becomes equal to C2. How can you define this molarity? It is number of moles of solute dissolved in volume of 1 liter solution. Number of moles of solute dissolved in 1 liter solution. So we can write N1 by V1 instead of C1, and N2 by V2 instead of C2. So N1 by V1 is equal to N2 by V2. What is N1? Number of moles of solute in first solution. N2 is the number of moles of solute in second solution. Now we are converting this N1, writing in this N1 and N2 in terms of weight and molecular weight. So W1 by M1 V1 is equal to W2 by M2 V2. What is N1? W1 by M1. What is N2? W2 by M2. Weight by molecular weights. So W1 is the weight of solute in first solution, M1 is its molecular weight, V1 is the volume of that first solution, W2 is the weight of the solute in second solution, M2 is its molecular weight, and V2 is the volume of that solution. Suppose if these solutions are having same value, if V1 is equal to V2, so we can also write W1 by M1 is equal to W2 by M2. Means if the number of moles of solute particles are same in both, the number of moles of solute are same in both, then they will exhibit, and they should have the same value, then they will exhibit same osmotic pressure. So these are the isotonic solutions. So isotonic solutions will have the same, or will exhibit the same osmotic pressure. Pi 1 is equal to pi 2. So what is the condition for that? If these solutions are present at same temperature, C1 must be equal to C2. Further, if they are having same value, what is the further condition? N1 must be equal to N2. This N1 and N2 can be converted into weight molecular weights. How? W1 by M1 is equal to W2 by M2. Is it? That is about the concept, is it? Isotonic solutions. You can solve the problems on this formula. Right. Next, methods to determine the osmotic pressure. What are the methods? Here two methods we are observing. One is the Pfeffer method, and second is the Berkeley and Hartley method. In Pfeffer method, external container is there, which is made from the steel, and the internal container is also there. You can see this. In the walls of this internal container, a semi-permeable membrane is deposited. Copper ferrocyanide, for example, it can be deposited electrolytically in the walls of this inner side container, and this will be fitted with a manometer. This is a manometer. Okay. Now this is instead of this container, the solution is taken. External side is solvent is taken. Suppose this is a sugar aqueous solution. Here it is a solvent is there. Now both of these solvent and solution are separated by a semi-permeable membrane. The semi-permeable membrane is deposited in the walls of this container. So when they are placed or separated by semi-permeable membrane, what happened? Osmosis will start. Because of this osmosis, the solvent molecules will enter into solution. When the solvent molecules enter into solution, what happens? Here the pressure increases. We can see the increase in pressure in the manometer. The increase in pressure in manometer is at equilibrium is nothing but it's the osmotic pressure. Increase in pressure observed in the manometer at equilibrium is nothing but osmotic pressure. Like that, we can determine the osmotic pressure with help of Pfeffer apparatus. Next, we see the second method, Berkeley-Hartley apparatus. where this is a container. Is it? It is made from the gunmetal which can withstand to the high pressures. It's a inner tube. It's a inner tube whose walls are deposited with again a semi-permeable membrane. Is it? The walls are deposited with semi-permeable membrane. Here you can see this. These are the walls of the container inside. Right. So this inner tube is containing again two side tubes. You are observing one is L-type shape. Second is attached to the funnel. Okay, so we can introduce the solvent through this. So we introduce the solvent through this into the inner tube, and we can also see the level of the solvent in this. Now the external tube is filled with the solution. See, solution. Is it? The external tube will be filled with the solution. Then what happened? The solvent and solution, both of them are now separated by semi-permeable membrane. Then what? Osmosis will start. Because of osmosis, what happens? The solvent molecules will move into the solution side. The solvent molecules will move into the solution side like this. The solvent will move into the solution side. Means the amount of solvent decreases in the solvent tube. That's why you can say decrease in the level of tube. In L-types, L-shaped tube is there in the side. There you can observe the decrease in the level of solvent. Why it is decreasing? Because the flow of solvent takes place through semi-permeable membrane due to osmosis into solution side. So now you have to apply the pressure on the solution. Is it? You have to apply the pressure on the solution. Here you can see apply the pressure on the solution so that the level of water or level of solvent again reaches to the initial state. So what pressure you are applying here to retain the level of water to the initial state, that pressure is called osmotic pressure. The pressure will be equal to the osmotic pressure of the solution, which is taken in the experiment. This is about the Berkeley and Hartley apparatus method to measure the osmotic pressure. Is it clear or not? So both of these are having same concept. Just what we are observing, what is the pressure applied on the solution? The extra pressure applied on the solution to prevent osmosis is called osmotic pressure. That we can see very easy in this case. There are the methods to determine the osmotic pressure. Experimental methods we say. Okay. Next you see the problem. The problem 1 is 40 grams of non-volatile non-electrolyte solute is dissolved in 600 ml of water. It shows the osmotic pressure of 8.2 atmospheres at 273 Kelvin. Find the molecular weight of solute. So here the 40 grams of non-volatile solute, non-electrolyte solute is dissolved in 600 ml of water, and it shows the osmotic pressure of 8.2 atmospheres at 273 Kelvin. We have to find the molecular weight. From the Van 't Hoff equation, what we write? Small m is equal to Wst by pi m. Small m is equal to Wst by pi m. We know that pi v is equal to Cst. That C is now converted into weight, molecular weight and volume. So that we will get this formula. Is it? You see pi is equal to, we got what was the equation? You say it is Cst. Is it? Cst. So we can write pi is equal to, again we can write it is n by v. Is it? N by v. V is the volume of solution, again S into T. Or pi is equal to, we write it is what is n, weight divided by, is it, molecular weight into St divided by V. Here we are writing equation for this m. If you write equation for this m, what we get? You see Wst by pi v. M is equal to Wst by pi v. Like that we got that equation. You see from 1/2 equation only we got it. So m is equal to Wst by pi. So what is W? Weight of solute. S is solution constant. T absolute temperature. Pi is osmotic pressure. V is the volume of solution. So W is equal to 40 grams. It is given. S is the solution constant because the volume of solution is given in milliliter. We'll convert into liters. Here we are substituting the units of S in atmosphere so that osmotic pressure will be obtained in the atmosphere. It's also given, you can see in the problem itself, it is given 8.2 atmospheres. That's why based on the volume units and pi units, we have to select the S value. T is 273 Kelvin and V is 600 ml. But this we are converting into what? Liters. Because S value is taken in liters. That's why all of these terms should have the same type of units. So V is equal to 600 ml means 0.6 liters. Let us substitute. W is equal to 40 grams. S value it is 0.0821. Temperature is 273 divided by 8.2 is the pi value. 0.6 liters. So when you solve this, if you solve for this, is it? M will be obtained 183.77 gram mole inverse. Okay, this is the molecular weight of a solute which we got it. Is it like this we solve the problem on osmotic pressures? We can calculate the molecular weight of a solute dissolved in the solution with help of the osmotic pressure, is it? Next is problem number 2, is it? What is problem number 2 given here? A solution containing 8.6 grams decimeter cube, is it? It will be minus, I think, gram decimeter power minus 3 of urea was found to be isotonic with 5% solution of organic non-volatile solute. Calculate the molar mass of the latter. Two solutions are there. In first solution, 8.6 grams decimeter power minus 3 means it is, do you know what is meaning of decimeter cube? Decimeter cube is nothing but it is equal to 1 liter. So it is nothing but 8.6 gram per liter of urea is there. That is the first solution. Now this solution is isotonic with another solution. That solution is 5% solution of organic solute. So both of these are isotonic, so that you have to calculate the molecular weight of the latter. Okay, just now we have discussed what is the meaning of isotonic solution. The solutions which exhibit same osmotic pressure. Pi 1 is equal to pi 2. Is it? Here you can see that, is it? Pi 1 is equal to pi 2. Then C1 ST1 is equal to C2 ST2. If they are having the same concentration, C1 is equal to, if C1 is equal to C2 at constant temperature, what we write is N1 by V1 is equal to N2 by V2, or W1 by M1 V1 is equal to W2 by M2 V2. This formula we are obtaining here. Is it? So N1 by V1 is equal to N2 by V2. N is now converted into weight and molecular weight. This formula we are taking for to solve that problem, is it? This problem. So N1 by V1 is equal to N2 by V2. Or W1 by M1 V1 is equal to W2 by M2 V2. Let us substitute all this. W1 in first solution. What is the weight of solute? 8.6 grams. M1 molecular weight of urea. Do you know the formula of urea? It is NH2CONH2. The molecular weight will be 60 gram mole inverse. Decimeter cube it is per liter, nothing but this is 1000 ml, because the second one is 5%. 5% means, remember, it is 5%. We can understand like this, W by V. So what is the meaning of 5 W by V? 5 grams of solute is dissolved in 100 ml of solution. That is the meaning. Means this is given in the milliliter. That's why decimeter cube now convert into milliliters. How many? 1000 we got. So 8.6 by 60 into 1000. That is equal to W2, 5 grams. Molecular weight you have to find out. Because the question is calculate the molar mass of the latter. This is M2. You have to calculate. Since it is a 5%, the volume of solution in second case will be 100 ml. We are substituting all these values. Only unknown value is M2. So that you can calculate M2. We got it is 348.8 gram mole inverse. Like this we solve the problems on osmotic pressure. We can solve the problems on osmotic pressure. Okay. So this is about the osmotic pressure. So what topics we have discussed today? We have discussed about the 1/2 laws of osmotic pressure, Boyle's 1/2 law. That is osmotic pressure is inversely proportional to volume of the solution at constant temperature. Second is Wan's-Charles law. The osmotic pressure of solution pi is directly proportional to absolute temperature at constant value. Third is what's 1/2 Avogadro's law. If two solutions are having same volume, same exhibiting same osmotic pressure, present under same conditions of temperature, they will have the same number of moles. That is 1/2 Avogadro's law. Based on this, we can see the equation pi v is equal to nst, which is called 1/2 equation for osmotic pressure. So based on this, 1/2 stated the theory of dilute solutions. What is the important concept of theory of dilute solutions? If a solute in the solution behaves as a gas, then the pressure exerted by that gas will be exactly equal to the osmotic pressure of the dilute solution in which that solute is present, provided the solute and gas must be present under same conditions of temperature. That was the important statement of Van 't Hoff stated in his theory of dilute solutions. Then we have discussed about reverse osmosis. When we apply the pressure more than the osmotic pressure on the solution side, the solvent molecules will move from solution to solvent through semi-permeable membrane. That phenomenon is called reverse osmosis. Next, we have discussed about isotonic solutions. The solutions which are having same osmotic pressure are called isotonic solutions. And methods to determine osmotic pressure, Pfeffer method and Berkeley-Hartley method we have seen. Then we have solved the problems. This is about the osmotic pressure. So based on the thermodynamics also, we can derive equation for osmotic pressure. Pi is equal to CST, that we have seen. That can be derived based on thermodynamics also, thermodynamic concepts also. We'll discuss that in next class. Thank you.